I cannot imagine a Christmas without that song. Well, look at the question up on the screens, please. This was a question that was asked by a Sunday school teacher to her class. And those of you who are English teachers, I've already heard from several of you, ignore the poor grammar, but it's still a good question. What is Christmas a time for? Well, this teacher told me that she asked her kids this question and she got all the typical answers. One said, it's a time to celebrate Jesus' birthday. Another said, it's a time for love. Another said, it's a time for peace. But I think the best answer was this: a time for sportsmanship. Because you don't always get everything you want. Now, have you ever received a gift at Christmas that you did not want? Anybody? Why is it like people are doing this number? Is it that you're afraid that your family member will see your response? All of us have received gifts that we really didn't want, right? Well, USA Today, do any of you read that newspaper? They did a poll recently. And they asked the question, what do you do with a gift that you don't really want? Well, here were the responses. 31% said we just keep it. 30% said we hide it. 13% said we toss it. You know what that means? Throw it away. 12% said we give it away. 6% said we return it. What do you do with the gifts that you receive that you don't really want? Do you keep it? Do you hide it? Do you toss it? Do you give it away? Do you return it? You re-gift it? I don't know where that fits up in this category. And isn't it interesting, nobody named that in the poll? Why is that? That says something, doesn't it? Well, we've been in the midst of this sermon series during Advent based on this incredible book titled The Greatest Gift, which led to the movie It's Incredible Life. It's an incredible life and a wonderful life. You would think I would get the title straight. I've only been preaching about it for several weeks. Did you know that the Warren Theater today had every one of their theaters had this movie playing at least twice today? Did you know that? So if you haven't seen the movie yet, it's too late because the last showing was 4:30. But if you've seen this movie, how many of you have not seen this movie? Oh my goodness. You have to do that during this Christmas season. You have to see this movie because in this movie, It's a Wonderful Life, we have George Bailey who receives a gift that he wasn't sure that he wanted. And what was that gift? His life. And for those of you who've seen the movie, what happens is that his life just starts to fall apart. And in desperation, he goes to his enemy, Mr. Potter, and he asks for a loan on his life insurance policy. And Mr. Potter very gleefully says to him, George, you're worth more dead than alive. Now, for a discouraged, depressed person, that's about the worst thing that you can say, right? So George Bailey decides the only way to deal with this is to take his own life. He goes to the bridge and is ready to jump, and all of a sudden God intervenes in the form of an angel whose name is Clarence. And what does Clarence do? Clarence takes George on a little tour, and he shows him what life would have been like if he had never been born. And for those of you who have seen the movie, George Bailey finally comes to understand how wonderful his life is because he sees what would have happened if he would not have ever been born. Have you ever been where George was? Have you ever wondered if your life has meaning, if your life is purposeful or meaningful? Have you ever wondered about that? If you haven't, you will. The message of Christmas is that Jesus came to remind us that our lives matter to God and they make a difference in this world. If you don't get anything else out of this evening, may you leave here with this message that you have been given a life that matters. You have a life that is unrepeatable. There is no other person in this world like you. There are people that are similar to you, but there's not one other person on planet Earth who is exactly like you by God's design. Your life is unrepeatable. Your life matters. I like to say that every one of us can be replaced, but every single one of us is indispensable. That means that if you weren't here, something would be missing. We have a family in our congregation. It's called the Welch family. They may be watching online right now in Dallas, where their son, who is the second one to the left, had a double lung transplant. And with their permission, I'm sharing their story. And they had several dry runs where the lungs wouldn't work for a variety of reasons. But on December the 6th, the surgery took place and the lungs are working. And the mother, who's pictured up there, said, and I quote from her email, "We have received the gift of new life, the gift of an organ from a donor we may never know." And by the way, if you're not an organ donor, I hope that you'll consider becoming one. I have it marked on my driver's license. If I die, I want my life to continue in some meaningful way. Do you? And this family said, "We may never know these donors, but the one thing that we have come to realize in a new and fresh way is that life is precious. God is good." A friend of mine sent me the song. She said, "Breath of Heaven" by Amy Grant. She says it reminds her that Austin really did get a breath of heaven. What a gift. Isn't that an amazing gift to have new life? To realize how precious life really is? Our lives are to be treasured because our lives matter. And when we live life to the full, God is glorified and people are blessed. That's why I'm so fascinated with this movie. I love this movie, It's a Wonderful Life, because it's a powerful reminder. You're not here just to take up space. Your life really matters. And it matters probably to people that you will never, ever meet. Just like the Welch family. The gift of new life by a donor they do not know. We're going to watch a clip from the movie It's a Wonderful Life. And this is the last scene where George has decided to go home. He's experiencing new life. That's what happens to people who come to their senses. They go home. In a variety of ways, they go home. And so George goes home, and let's watch what happens.
Hallelujah!
Hello? George! George,
Mary!
darling, where are
Mary!
you? George, darling, where are you? Oh, George!
Mary!
George! George!
Let me touch you. Are you real?
George!
You have no idea what's happened to me.
You've no idea what happened. Well, come on, George, come on downstairs. Quick, they're on their way.
All right.
Come on. Come on in here now. Now you stand right over here by the tree. Right there, and don't move. Don't move. What's happening? Oh, hear them coming now. George, it's a miracle. It's a miracle.
What's happening? Who's gonna come, Daddy? Who, Daddy?
Come in, Uncle Billy. Everybody in here.
George! George!
Isn't it wonderful? So many friends. Very Mary did it, George. Mary did it. She told some people you were in trouble with it. They scattered all over town collecting money. Didn't ask any question, just said George in trouble. Tell me,
What is this,
like a spread like spread.
Another run on the bank?
Here, George. Merry Christmas.
Now, don't push. There we are. The line forms on the right. The line forms on the right. Now, come in, George. Now, don't Merry Christmas. And God bless you. Oh, Mr. Martini. Here's Martini. Step right up there. You'll all get up. I busted the jukebox, too. Oh, Mr. Gower.
I made the ransom with George account.
George, I changed my mind.
I've been saving this money for a divorce if ever I get a husband. Merry Christmas.
Here you are, George. You got the faculty all left out of it. Here's some beautiful.
I wouldn't have a roof over my head if it wasn't for you, George.
Just a minute. Just a minute. Quiet, everybody. Quiet. Quiet. Now get this. It's from London.
Oh.
Mr. Gower cabled you need cash. Stop. My office instructed to advance you up to $25,000. Stop. Hee-haw and Merry Christmas, Sam Wainwright.
Mr. Martini, how about some wine?
Those people gave my daddy the best gift we could have asked for that Christmas, and we never forgot it. A gift that makes you want to pass it on and share the joy. God gave us all a gift like that. Let's light this candle and never forget the gift that God gave us, His Son, Jesus Christ.
Let's thank Zuzu, also known as Ainsley Prater. She's awesome, isn't she? She's a natural. Well, Caroline, would you come on up here, please? As we close this Christmas sermon, this is Caroline Tipton.
Hi.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, keep it real
Hello.
close.
Okay.
Here. So, was it a couple weeks ago or so,
Yeah.
you and the youth group, under the direction of Eric Hauk, went to the Andover Life Care Center.
Mm-hmm.
And you were spreading some Christmas cheer, doing carols, visiting with the residents.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about this woman who's pictured here with you.
Well, she called me over. I was wearing some slippers pictured in the picture, and she called me over and she just started talking. She was like, "I love your slippers so much. I have a collection of all these things, and you just have to tell me where you got them because I have to have a pair of those. Those are amazing." And so I was like, "Well, I'm not really sure where I got them. I just got them from a Christmas party that we had here." And so I went away and I was like, well, I just got them and I think she'll wear them a lot more than I will. So I saw her later and I went to her room and so I walked up to her and I gave them to her and she kept on saying, "Oh, thank you so much." And she was just crying and I felt happy that she was happy.
So you gave her your Christmas slippers.
Yeah.
So what did you wear out of the nursing home?
Nothing. I went Eric style.
Eric style, which is barefoot?
Yeah.
So what led you, Caroline, to give her your slippers?
Well, I just felt like that's what God wanted me to do. I felt she would wear them a lot more than I would, and that was just a Christmas gift I wanted to give her. That she was stuck in a wheelchair at that place, and she probably had visitors, but not too many, and I just wanted to make her day.
That's wonderful. And I understand from Eric that this woman is dying of cancer. And you gave her a great gift.
Thank you.
You make me cry.
I know.
We live in a world where people want to talk about the darkness, and we tend not to talk about the light as much. Nobody said, Caroline, this is what you ought to do. Nobody said, Caroline, this is what a Christian would do. Caroline, you just naturally gave. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
You're living a wonderful life. And what makes life so wonderful is not only when you receive, but when you give. So we applaud you. We thank you for sharing the love of God with people. It's beautiful. Yes, you deserve our applause. As I close, I was thinking about Caroline's example of unconditional love, just freely giving. And I thought about that poll. And I thought about your life, and I thought about mine. And just like people do with unwanted gifts, some people keep it and hoard it and don't share it. And others hide it like it doesn't matter, like you don't matter, like what you share doesn't matter. And then there are other people who throw their lives away with hard living. And then there are some who return their life to God and say, no, thank you. But what did Caroline do? She gave it away. And in that moment, Caroline, God was glorified and this woman was blessed. So the question for each of us tonight is, what are you going to do with God's greatest gift?